虽然我们和 FLICKR 交手的次数不多，但战绩还是挺不错的。这次我们作为北京的东道主，要尽一下地主之谊，更要好好安排战绩了。
我感觉 RNG 这支战队天克我们，因为在 LPL 里我们从来没有赢过他们。这次来到北京，我还是挺期待和他们交手的。要是能赢的话，应该可以吹1年。
RNG 的2个代都是很强，但是你们也要小心一点，到时候谁抓谁都不知道。
绝世性打野的称号也不是浪得虚名的。既然这样的话，我建议你买双武术先，不然怕你追不上我gank的脚步。
要追吗？接着赶过来，大招躲掉了，开了，漂亮！高分状态很好，但是猪妹这边也及时赶到，打出个破灭一击，要先拿骚本，能不能换掉？差一下，小虎这边应该是先倒了，但是他是林子这边先换掉了蝎子。
我想让志泰请我喝奶茶。
好啊，等我们赢了就请。
A 宝毕竟还是个弟弟，我会好好照顾他的。这次FLICKR是有备而来的。
我们最近的状态有所回升，想要照顾 A 宝，你还得先问问我。兵来将挡，水来土掩 ，RNG 等你来炸。
The LPL is back once again. Welcome everyone to this beautiful Saturday afternoon, coming at you live from Shanghai where we're casting. But as you can see, the Beijing arena is also filling up for Royal Never Give Up in our first game against opponents Snake, who have never taken a match off of RNG. So perhaps Snake could get the chance to claim those bragging rights. You can see RNG making their way backstage throughout their awesome arena as they get ready for this matchup. They have their own moon in that arena. We'll get a chance to see it later. I just want you all to know now, they have their own moon. And Snake will have that hanging above their heads as they try to load onto the Rift to bring down their opponents of Royal Never Give Up, because we'll get a chance to see some very interesting faces make their way onto the Rift a little bit later. And the question is, can Snake upset here, or will they be able to finally take that win against Royal Never Give Up? But welcome everyone to the Blue Desk. My name is Dom, and joining me is Blue Shirt Raz.
You shouldn't have made it that obvious. They would have found out one way or another. They don't have to know now.
You know the best part too? The casters in Shanghai, they're also wearing blue shirts that look just like this. It is actually a complete coincidence. Not planned at all. I just saw them on the screen just a moment ago. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings before you guys can focus too much on our shirts and what they look like. Royal Never Give Up. They're playing today. They're 10-3, second in the group right now in the East. They're taking on Snake, who are in third. But if you take a look at that West Conference, it's a lot less clear-cut as to how things are shaking out.
Yeah, at least we know who's first place definitively. Rogue Warriors qualifying into the playoffs just based off the fact that they are 4 series ahead of second place. So, you know, they're the hair in this race, except they ain't slowing down. But the one that's interesting to me, of course, you'll take a look at what happened yesterday. The 4th place battles, TOP, just 1 series ahead of OMG and FPX. Suning Gaming have to be sweating. I know they're sweating because they're a flaming bear, lion, man thing. But then LGD and BLG taking off definitive wins mean that they are just 1 series ahead of those 2 teams.
And knowing how Suning lost out on playoffs, all of these wins mean so much, referring back, of course, to that spring split. They're playing, as you said, in our 2nd series against TOP. After that, our match of the week with Invictus Gaming taking on Rogue Warriors here from the Shanghai venue. Looking to be a fun rematch.
Yeah, definitely a packed day just from match of the week at the end. Suning versus TOP, major playoff ramifications from this one. Both teams trying to hold on to their 4th place spot. Being able to take a win here, 2 series ahead of the next one. I mean, it makes it easier going into the next week. We have just 3 more weeks before the playoffs start.
As we said, this is the last week of cross-conference play, last weekend at this point. 2 days left, and then it's back into intra-conference play. But before we talk about our first matchup of RNG versus Snake, FLICKR actually shares his thoughts playing against RNG.
这次来到世界冠军的主场嘛，肯定有点小激动的，所以嘛，我们就应该就是来 刷屏一下，差不多就旅游一下，看一下北京的那种旅游景点什么的。就比赛就反正就那样了，狗爷上场玩不了。
Oh,
should we tell him?
I don't think he got the memo.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that RNG, they've had people come in, fill in Uzi's role. Of course, the injury that he's had to his arm, taking some time off. But it seems like he's better than ever because he's taking all 5 positions. The man is top lane Vayne. We've seen that from him. Jungling Azaya. Only real question is if he's willing to do it in mid lane and support, but you can't stop the man. It's his decision.
Yeah, the guy can play anywhere. If he actually does get a chance to come back against Snake today, again, he's been taking some time off. And Uzi, the king, he returns
today.
Do we break the news now, or do we wait a little bit later?
It literally just says Return to the Kingdom. Read the damn message.
The Return to the King.
He's
Uzi's back. He's playing today in our game for Royal Never Give Up. And poor FLICKR, he's like, if Uzi's here, we don't stand a chance. We're just going to go see the tourist attractions in Beijing. I've got some bad news. It's Saturday. All the attractions are closed.
And here's the thing with this one, because a lot of it, different circumstances in Summer Split than in Spring Split. In Spring Split, it was Uzi the Savior. They were not having a good time, RNG that is. Summer Split, he's actually coming back and he's like, everything, this house is not on fire yet. What's happening? 3 sets, the last 3 sets RNG has had have actually just been straight stompings, 2-0 victories for the team. So it's great to see the fact that this team is actually just so confident without them. It took a few losses. Remember, their losses without him has been against Rogue Warriors and FPX.
Yeah.
But they've gotten more comfortable bringing in Zatai and Let Me as the double bruisers compositions. But new patches, 80 carries coming back. Really nice to see. Boom. The only one that's obvious is the WE one, but TOP and LGD are teams that are honestly were on the up and up, so we would expect at least one game to be taken there.
Yeah, they're chasing that 4th place for these teams, but now that we're starting to see RNG on the back of a win streak, and you've got the best 80 carry in the world coming back, starting to look a little bit dicey for Snake. Now, on Chinese social media right now, a lot of the fans are saying, oh man, we actually pro streamer play, because Uzi, he's not been sitting on the bench idly doing nothing. He has been streaming, he has been practicing, he has been staying on top of his game. So this isn't, oh, there's a chance that he's not going to perform. We expect him to stand up.
Yeah, in Spring Split, remember one thing that he came back fairly late, but randomly RNG not only played to him very consistently, very easy, but he was on top of his game. Immediately top of the tier, best AD carry day 1. So for him, taking a break is, taking a break for the 14-hour regiment, let alone the, putting it down to 6, maybe 5 hours. So he's still practicing fairly consistently, going up against Snake. I understand as we turn our attention to Snake that they have a lot to worry about because they haven't taken series. In fact, remembering their playoff performance when they went up against RNG in Spring Split, it was poor. 3-1 loss from them, and a lot of it was just based off of drafting, in my opinion. So I feel like there's so much that we can see from this team going up against RNG as we introduce the lineups.
On the blue side, it's Snake, FLICKR, SOFM, Guoguo, Light, and Maestro.
And Light is the one that we want to focus on, an AD carry that's been trying to get some grounding here. Of course, coming in for Crystal, been their main AD carry for such a long time, but remember they've also been having multiple strategies, so double support Hudia and Maestro. This time, really solidifying on him. Going onto RNG's roster is Zatai, Karsa, Xiaohu, Uzi, and Ming.
And this is the classic. This was the RNG that we got to see at Rift Rivals. Of course, Zatai putting on a massive performance. He's been playing up ever since. Hasn't really left the roster outside of the crazy double jungle setup. So the 7-man roster is back, and it is at full power right now. At least that's what we're expecting out of Royal Never Give Up. But to come back to Snake, as you were just saying, this is a team that has had a whole bunch of strategies that they've been trying throughout the summer split, but stylistically, none of those strategies really match up very well against RNG.
It's because they're heavily known for team fighting, known for split pushing. 2 things that are actually really close to RNG's motif, that they go towards that so heavily, and something that really does cut down Snake every single time they go up against RNG is the bottom lane. A lot of times, when Crystal goes up against the best, he loses consistently. Up against IG, loses to Jackalope. Rogue Warriors loses to SMLZ. RNG, 100%, massive deficits in laning phase, and so they have to look towards top side. And RNG has been a team that can always just absorb the pressure top lane and then demolish you in the bottom side of the match. So in this case, this could be a good moment to really test out Light. if he is exactly who they thought he was coming into this. Remember, a rookie split for him, or a rookie season, for him to come in and now start to consistently play a different look for this team. And I think that this is going to be a massive test to see if he can actually match up in laning.
Well, I mean, we'll hope that he scores well on this test. We know that he can play some mages down in the bottom lane. He's played them before. Of course, we do also have to mention that this is patch 8.14, so things could be a little bit different for Snake. That jungle funnel style for SOFM might be getting hamstrung a little bit. That's how they won a few of their games, by taking that funnel strategy and getting getting snowballed early on, shutting down the enemy team, I suppose. But as we said, it's 8.14. Not only have marksmen been changed and buffed up a little bit more, but the jungle has been toned back.
And I like that when the news started coming out that the limitations on gold income on minions were actually coming out, the Snake were starting to shift their strategy towards topside a lot more often. Now we're seeing a lot more Vladimir plays, more of SOFM helping out FLICKR, because FLICKR is the key to this matchup. Remember that Snake is a fantastic topside team. One of the best performers right now of the team is literally FLICKR, best top laner currently in the league. And so for them to come into this series, they have to come in and understand their strength, that they're a topside team, but now have confidence that Light won't get blasted in lane as their previous AD carries and bot lane iterations have done. So that's the major worry for Snake, and I think they can at least take them to game 3.
So to follow up on that a little bit more, FLICKR, best top laner in the league. When you've got Zetai, when you've got Let Me, Mouse, I'm just going to keep going. Ray.
You want me to, did I stutter when I said, do we have to roll that back? If you're a YouTube viewer, do I have to actually?
Yeah, hit the back
button.
So
it's always been a confident point. The only time in the career that we've started to question FLICKR is based off of teleports. But then that's been cleaned up very easily. He's incredibly flexible, and now being able to go on and start flexing with the mage top laners at the beginning of 2018 has been a great look for the team. Spellbook, when it first came out, was when Snake started to be super creative in what they could do in the top side of the map. So what I would love to see from SOFM is go top side, play the carry junglers like Graves and Kindred, and maybe Talia if that's available to you. I expect it to be banned, and try and get the pace started early, because if there's one weakness that RNG has, especially when they have Uzi on the roster and 80 carry bottom lane, is that their early game falters.
Well, we'll have to see what Snake decide to take, if they do look to enable FLICKR, or if they try to play a supportive bottom lane to Light and Maestro, going up against the king himself, Uzi and Ming, back once again. But that said, we've entered into pick and ban. Talia, Camille, Zoe taken away from RNG, as is to be expected. Very early Kindred look at from Snake on the blue side. Again, this is to unlock SOFM and see which lane he decides to affect. But last second swap over to Varus means that Snake are looking at that bottom lane.
Yeah, immediately, just a big, bring him that support. When Uzi, during the regular season, go-to AD carry is the Varus, so he gets a lot of laning phase pressure. You give it to Light, and you don't have to necessarily play to the bottom lane. You can just give him a poke, mage, comet, lethality, and that's just a great blind pick bottom lane. So I wonder what Uzi's going to pick up against it. Maybe try and scale into it, go Ezreal and try and outrange it. Those are major questions. What Snake now can do is hide their jungle a little bit. I want to see if RNG tries to take the Kindred away.
Already though, we do have the Tom Kench, which is something that would keep that bottom lane safe from any threat of Uzi and Ming. So already RNG looking to open up that bottom lane with that pick. And now a Rise lock in for Xiao, who again, very strong on that champion.
Going to be another test for Guoko, because the Rise pickup, it's a lesson up if you look towards Rogue Warriors versus EDG, because they just banned out the Orianna. They don't want to deal with a tough laning phase for Xiaohu. So putting up the Rise, I wonder if Snake then go towards Guoguo's scaling pick, like a Vladimir, for instance. A Cassiopeia is a possibility with Guoguo, because he is a great mage player. He doesn't have the opportunity to pick up Orianna. There's a lot more that he can go towards. I would love him to pick it up at first base.
Yeah, Guoguo, again, one of his most played is that Rise, so it is that counter pick for Xiaohu. We'll see what Guoguo decides to take, obviously playing the champion. You know the matchups quite a bit, so we could be seeing that Cassiopeia. No desperate need to take it here, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, Rakan is still open.
Yeah.
I didn't actually catch that. So the fact that Rakan can be... Okay!
Oh, all
you
right,
know what?
never mind.
That's fine.
I guess they are picking that counter pick, maybe trying to save some surprise for that second
So
pick.
I made a point of Cassiopeia only because that was the response that Doumbé had to scout when the Rise was blind picked. A lot of teams are getting comfortable around, hey, you know what? Orianna's picked so frequently versus the Rise that teams don't have any other counter picks against it. They haven't practiced it. So they would just go towards something that's loses in lane or matches up in lane. This time around they're saying, no, we've actually practiced. Guoguo is a great mage player, pick up the Cassiopeia, and now Snake's jungle and mid lane is actually phenomenal. I wonder if they just all in on that strategy, look to place down control wards, and how Guoguo just excel in lane.
Well, speaking of that, last time we saw the Cassiopeia, it was paired with Flawless on Trundle. That champion is now being passed over to Karsa, so we don't get to see the Miasma Pillar combination, which is just straight up dirty. The point and click slow, and then the Miasma on top of it, so you have nothing to do but walk through the slow to escape. It's really kind of tragic. But with that Trundle, Karsa, we're going to see which lanes he decides to look towards, because again, the world is his oyster so far, except for that top lane. That's going to receive a Mundo ban from RNG, and you already mentioned how important Flandre is if he manages to get his hands on a carry.
But because of the composition Snake are running, they should run a tank top lane, which is the sad days, the sad news bears, is because you have Kindred, Cassio, and Cassio really requires a frontliner to walk forward. Sure, you could say a support Maestro could go for an Alistar in this situation, but Alistar in this case just isn't enough, unless if they're fully committing to a split push strategy. So it's all on Snake and how risky their composition has to be, because they have such great front to back that they should just give Flandre an Ornn in this case.
I mean, you already mentioned the Rakan still being open. We're not seeing that ban. There's the Alistar, so perhaps that Engage looking a little bit more enticing for Snake if they want to try to pick someone out of position. But that is a risky game to play against RNG, one of the best team fighting teams in the league right now.
And here's the worry now, because the Alistar is banned. Snake should just ban Ornn naturally, because RNG can just pick it up themselves. And Snake would then be just put in a position where they have to put a split push top laner with a janky composition. So now with the Syndra being banned, a target towards Xiaohu, that's because they think the Rise is going to be top lane.
Yeah, it's a time.
Remember, it is a flex pick there. So big questions, none of them really answered. It just depends on what Uzi picks up here. If he picks up the Ornn for the top lane, then it really solidifies RNG's composition.
Well, first things first, he's going to have to cover Vayne for his first game back, but he decides not to. Instead, just going straight for the Ezreal, as you mentioned, something safe with a lot of harass and a lot of damage. Uzi, one of the best Ezreals in the world, if not the best, because he's certainly the best AD carry in the world right now.
He's the best Ezreal just because he makes you question matchups. A lot of times people look at Ezreal and say, that's just too safe, support's leaving the lane. There's no way he wins the matchup, especially in this one. But a lot of times he's always on point for the skill shots. Always challenges for waves based off his Q alone. And so he can always get some great like CS deficits in that, well, at least force the enemy team to get a CS deficit just in laning phase. But that's a Varus ROM. If Light and Maestro lose this lane, I would be absolutely surprised, even with the poke potential of Tahm Kench Q and the Ezreal to follow up.
Lots of easy engage using that Glacial Fissure, or if they swap it over to the Rakan, that's a great answer as well, just for all-inning on that Ezreal if you ever find him out of position. But that being said, it is Uzi. Now we're going to see where that Rise ends up getting flexed between Zatai and Xiaohu. They decide to send it towards the mid lane or towards the top, knowing now that Flandre is taking that knock.
I'd pick an Ornn here. Ultimately, looking at Snake's composition, choosing the Rakan over the Braum, I think is a mistake. Rakan is great for flash engages, sure, but the issue here is that now they just have 2 points of flash engages. Gnar joins the fight with Rakan, sure, if you get one target, excellent. But there is a Tahm Kench and Trundle here that do phenomenally well versus flash engage, that really require you to stick in fights if you are in the fight. So it's going to be a challenge to Snake now if they can actually get a pick off of Xiaohu or Uzi when Ming is not there, because otherwise it's going to be difficult, and I think they should try and play around Flandre splitting rather than team fighting.
We'll see what SOFM decides to go for. Again, one of the most creative pathing junglers in the entire league. He's known for his invades, he's known for his jungle pressure, he's known for his wild and wacky, zany picks and compositions built around them, but now he's going to have to teach us something else that we should respect him for, covering that top lane, unlocking Flandre while making sure that his bottom and mid lane stays safe against the inevitable threat that is the King. Because Uzi is back for his first game since Rift Rivals with RNG. Back on stage. They won MSI. They won Rift Rivals. They could very well be the first team to chase down the Triple Crown. If RNG win Worlds, that's the first time that has ever happened. The Triple Crown victory, and what better way to celebrate the Year of the Dog for Uzi than with something like that. But that said, that's still looking way too far in the future. Right now, RNG are just looking to keep the win streak against Snake, a team that has never beaten them.
Yep. It's the journey, it's the road to get to that point, and it starts with that first step, going up against Snake, a team that you don't want to look past. Even though Snake right now are in a 3-series loss streak, not having a good time in cross-conference, their strength is known. You have to respect the fact that they can take a game off you. In fact, taking a game off them in playoffs, in regular season, they're a team that will challenge you if you make mistakes. They themselves won't be a consistent team during a game.
Yeah.
But if you have an error, it's good that they brought in Karsa for this game, because I would have thought that if they bring in MLXG, then it's much more easier for SOFM, for Guoguo, to try and find MLXG making that error. Times and again, it happens.
It almost seems like the perfect pressure test for Uzi on his first game back. It's supposed to be the easy completion for RNG to close out this series and continue that win streak against Snake, but if we see any signs of weakness, it could very well be a large opening for other teams to see the King come in and perhaps look a little bit weak. But so far, he's got his crown, he's got his cape, and as you can see with the crowd, we have loaded onto the Rift for Game 1 between RNG and Snake.
Chongqing Chance in Beijing. That's a big travel for the team. It's a big travel for the fans that came to follow. It's nice to see it. Honestly, with this composition, they should feel happy about it. Just that we're getting great 2v2 mid lane to challenge the Trundle Rise. And they know they're going up against double tiering GP early. I think that this is a great test for Snake to be able to kick this ground running.
Now we do see the red start for SOFM. He's going for the 50-50 towards top lane, which would set him up to play towards that top side. We'll see which of the two Scuttle Crabs end up getting these marks, as the fan votes heavily favor RNG, I think, as to be expected. But, ooh, missed that one. Welcome back, Uzi. That's fine. Just gotta warm up a little.
And so, one thing that's going to be important, regardless of if Kindred gets his mark here, is going to top lane and be able to support Gnar is incredibly important. I would favor that over trying to see which marks end up going his way. He needs to be top lane. I think that Varus and Rakan, while Braum would have been a lot more safer, in this instance means that he can actually just rely on them to just stick on their own. There's not going to be too much gank pressure from the Trundle anyway, so SOFM already going towards the Krugs. If he goes for Krugs, then he's just committing to a hard farm style. We'll have to see if that's the case.
Decides to back away instead and just look for that Raptor camp as he clears out the vision of RNG. And again, that mark did go onto the bottom river scuttle, so SOFM will be denied that first one, but still, like you said, playing towards that top side. Keeps the option of playing up here open if Zatai takes any bad trades.
And that's going to be the main thing that a GP falls into, trying to trade back. He's not taking Grass the Undying, it's Klepto, so even if he trades back with Q, he's not getting HP back. So while the Aerie constantly hits him, he's going to try and use his mana to heal up. Oh, that's a ward here, so that's a...
Zatai immediately shows, I know that you're here, I know that you're taking these camps, but take a look at Karsa. He went for double clear on Gromp and Wolves and is now heading over to this side of the map. Also knows that the Scuttle Crab has been taken, might be trying to loop around past Snake and go for an invade into Snake's jungle.
There's definitely going to be a fight here. Xiaohu, well, not going to show himself. He's going to be here to flank SOFM when he starts on his blue buff. There we go, good catch.
Bloom. Now they see that this is happening. Pillar, SOFM just flashes over the wall. Summoner spell picked up.
Oh, here comes the
Flandre as well. He's actually pretty close to Mega. Karsa looks like he's the target, gets caught by that Frenzy. Rune Prison from Xiaohu. Relatively low mana, and they're able to take the Summoner spell and walk away.
Yeah, they couldn't continue to fight that one. Xiaohu didn't have mana, and of course Meganar being built up from Flandre, so would have had the ability to flash Wallop. So you're in a position, if you're Snake, to get a good counter trade. So great thing from SOFM to use the Scryer's plant to catch Rise looming over. Otherwise, that would have been an assured kill.
Instead, SOFM just has to burn the Summoner spell. He does get his recall, challenging Smite completed along with the refillable before he heads back towards his blue. Top lane has taken control.
What are those minions doing?
Look, he wants a piece of the champ.
Oh my
That
god,
minion was chasing Uzi down.
that was unsettling. I'm not sure I was okay with that. They literally went out to the bike racks. They took it away from the rest of the boys.
This isn't just some playground brawl, Raz. This is real business. This is the LPL. Car says he's going to continue to invade onto SOFM. Smite is ready for SOFM as he takes over to level 4 and picks up the camp. Even going to clear away this ward.
This is crucial for Karsta to be able to challenge Raptors. He won't be able to get it, but that just showcases where SOFM is to the rest of the map, so the gank pressure isn't there and viable. That Casio is kind of pressured as well. Rise gets a free push knowing that Karsus is there, so you get a lot of pluses off of him just literally walking up to Raptors and knowing that Kindred is going to be there.
Even forcing out the smite from SOFM on that camp means that Karsus is able to walk into the river and take the Scuttle Crab, which, again, was marked. SOFM sitting at a comfortable 0 marks right now, 5 into the game.
And here's something that, I'm going to break this to the audience. This is definitely going to be a slower game. If you look at what RNG is running here, this is the EU special double tier, Rise, Ezreal, with GP top lane. And what makes this even a lot more damning is that it's a spellbook Tahm Kench. So that means that you could technically have 4 teleports in one game from RNG. They can swap over. So there's a lot of defense here if things go awry.
And that wave is pushing in, and SOFM is behind him. Now he sees that it's happening. 1 barrel cleared. He walks up for the auto attack, gets some speed. There's the frenzy mounting Dread, and first blood goes to SOFM. He gets level 5. Xiaohu chases up and easily locks down another kill with a spell flux. So 1 for 1 in answer.
Good communication there from Zatai. Knew he was in a rough spot, but that also Xiaohu was roaming up, so he just walked over. So it's a trade and kill at the end. And Xiaohu pushing the wave makes it so Zatai can walk over and doesn't have to worry about the wave being in a bad spot.
That's the communication that we expect out of RNG, though. Again, Snake were able to get behind enemy lines and spot out Zatai. Finding that first blood. It's just easy tracking from SOFM.
So ultimately the problem, when you go for these ganks, you know that the teleports are available, you're interested to going for the ganks, but at this point, Zatai loses so much HP that no way anyone's going to TP in this. There's no way that RNG as a team are going to commit to it. Didn't see Xiaohu walking up, so of course that's the way it ends up trading through. At the very least, SOFM knows that he's coming off with a kill and with a stack off that kill as well. So he has, I think, 2 stacks during this game.
That should put him at 1. He didn't claim any of the scuttles so far. But again, that was the power of Xiaohu on that Rise, able to realm warp to his side lane just off of early lane control. Now, it should be noted, he's still sitting on just a Sapphire Crystal, only now completing the tier. So despite the early recall and teleport, it was Boots, Dark Seal, Corrupting Potion that he started off with, along with, of course, the Sapphire Crystal for that first buy. So Xiaohu knows that he has to play towards those side lanes. And again, we even see that with the Ionian Boots of Lucidity for CDR, and Uzi doing the same thing with his own Sheen tier stacking up.
Yeah, Ionian is the go-to just because added CDR helps you build up your tier. Also means that being able to just throw out Spell Fling as much as possible is the go-to for Rise here. So it makes a lot of sense in that regard. That being said, going up against a much tankier in lane, going up against a Cassiopeia is going to be what's unfortunate for him. It's only going to be really felt now because there's a real catalyst difference there. So for Guoko, this is when you should really start seeing the lane not work well in terms of push potential for Xiaohu.
I mean, speaking of not working well, Snake now find themselves with vision in the Baron pit, but the Dragon pit. A control ward denies it. Xiaohu and Karsa just walk over and finish off this Mountain Dragon. Guoko is there, just being another snake in the grass to deny entrance back into that mid lane, but bottom lane pressure paying off. 10 CS advantage and keeping light pushed in. Mid lane pressure from Xiaohu paying off by taking that dragon.
And it's all on timing. The fact that RNG recognized the base timings from Snake, immediately had the vision there to begin with, and then going for the dragon. Sure, Snake were in a position to fight, but in terms of like their build. But obviously, the moment they started converging on the situation, dragon's taken, they can back off. So Snake, while they are now in lane, can start to get the game back in their favor. They need to start looking for something. This is a good place to start.
Flandre, he's got Mega. Flash Slam is ready. But Zatai with the early flash away from the drill.
Good bait. Of course, you don't want to find yourself the back end of Flash Meganar. That's what he was looking for. So just means that Flandre now knows that he has his flash advantage. calling your jungler. You know that teleport's not there for Zatai, so this would be a very long laning phase for Zatai.
Now Karsa's actually behind FLICKR here, and remember Zatai with no flash, that's the subjugate. Auto attack, Karsa holding onto the pillar, uses it to pull him back, but there's a late flash from FLICKR to get back under the turret.
Yeah, late, unfortunate. He thought he could outplay the situation. Maybe they can.
SOFM looking for the counterplay. Mounting Dread stacks up as SOFM finds himself the kill. Now Zatai trying to turn onto this. He used his flash earlier, and SOFM with the respite decides not to dive. Teleport coming in. It's going to be Ming who shows up along with Xiaohu. They turn and finish off FLICKR, the quick 1-for-1, and the immediate rush over to SOFM. Rune Prison not quite ready, but it very soon will be. SOFM steps back in. There's the respite. Flash back. Engage into the back line. Ming manages to pick up Zatai. He's trying to carry him back to safety. Spits him back out. Maestro looking for the save as Xiaohu's on the backside. Dodges one, and RNG are not going to outplay this one. SOFM finds himself the kill.
Great full committal from Snake. You had to have recognized that if RNG's put in that bad of a position, teleports are going to start streaming through. It did in this instance. In fact, Xiaohu even walking to the play. So, bringing in more members in that case. Sure, FLICKR wasn't happy about how that ended for him, but Snake coming out of that in a positive light.
Absolutely getting the better of that trade. 2 kills for 1 and getting those 2 assists onto FLICKR. Of course, as you mentioned, SOFM getting the kill. That was onto a marked Karsa.
So one thing that's great, of course, the extra slow that was provided by FLICKR off the queue. SOFM going for the second kill. This is when the TP starts streaming in. The Rise is already there. So FLICKR is like, okay, maybe I can get Mega Gnar here so I can at least last a little longer. That wasn't the case. But SOFM at least had the help from his team. Rakan comes in for the added engage. Really well done from Maestro to at least secure the kill on the GP. Following up, I think he ended up dying on that one. Oh!
I did not know.
Wow, he actually ended up living. That's a lot better of a situation. I thought that would have been an even worse case for RNG, but outplaying that, surviving a little longer.
Now, we do see the blue being stolen away by RNG. SOFM ends up taking it, not even having to use the smite as it comes down to a quick auto attack, but that's RNG playing their strength timings. Iceborne Gauntlet finished off for Uzi. He's going top lane along with Ming and Karsa and Zatai as they're going to try to force this turret down. There aren't a lot of summoner spells here, but Karsa is trying to get onto the turret, but Snake, they bring 3 members and defend while Light is still pushing bottom.
Yeah, one thing to remember is RNG will have the numbers here. Xiaohu has teleport, 4 members top lane. Varus does not, and so theoretically, if you want to feel ballsy enough, you can look for a dive. In this case, they don't. It'd be a massive risk in the situation they're currently in, so moving away from that play.
It looks like they're still trying to exploit that advantage as Uzi's still pushing in the waves into the turret before Light can get there. Guogo is going to step forward and try to help with the Rift Herald as SOFM uses the back timing of RNG off of that push to try and rush through its health.
And 2 control wards exhausted here. So RNG were so focused on that top lane play, had no idea that this is being done. Great control wards from Snake. I know that they placed the most in the league to get the vision, or at least get the plays down here around these massive objectives. So being able to take Rift Herald while still protecting top lane tower means that RNG are now on the back foot and will have to play reactively to defend from this Rift Herald play.
Now we do see a trap being set up by Xiaohu and Zatai trying to bait SOFM onto his Raptor camp. And Zatai will see this, but he just hops over the wall, nice and safe. Again, very intelligent, knows what's what. If we could take a look at his stacks, I believe now he is at 2 stacks after those kills that we just saw. Ming is still trying to push up top, but Uzi, I think 7 CS ahead at about 13 minutes, as to be expected. He's maintaining this push advantage against the Varus. And Xiaohu still doing the same in that mid lane as he's going even with Guoguo.
What's interesting to me is that he's gone straight for the Iceborne Gauntlet as real build. We've seen a few of that recently. In this case, makes it so that, tagged on to Rise, there's a lot of utility in kiting backwards with the Tahm Kench and Trundle. So for RNG's composition, while they may not have super hard engage, they are very annoying to force a fight on. Maestro is going to feel that pretty easily. It's going to be on how FLICKR end up playing these fights if he can get a proper flank position to make it a lot faster of a game for Snake. We'll have to see if that's the case. Right now, Snake has control, not only based off the Rift Herald, but based off the fact that SOFM has 3 kills, Warriors, even has a pickaxe to his name with the Berserker's Grave, so clearing won't be an issue with him, skirmishing won't be an issue with him. He just has to now try and force those fights.
Well, there's an opportunity for one now, as Infernal Dragon is spawning. Blue buff being passed over to Xiaohu means that river control is given to Snake, but already SOFM, he actually hops over the Scuttle Crab vision to get into the pit. He's going to take some damage and hops away as his control ward does spot RNG collapsing. Teleport and Abyssal Voyage are ready for Uzi and Ming.
Yeah, this is a weird situation. Teams don't actually look to fight for objectives when their dual lanes are on the opposite side of the map. In this case, it has to be confidence in Flandre's ability to actually take the fight. They're bringing him over for that. So it's going to be a straight 3v3, but it seems in this case, RNG recognized that Flandre is a little bit far ahead and he just backs away.
With Uzi and Ming backed out of lane, they decide not to join in with their team, and the Infernal Dragon is picked up by Snake. So as you said, Raz, a bit of a slower game between Snake and RNG for Uzi's return. Perhaps the best way to maintain that his mechanics are still on par.
It's always a coin flip. When you see like quadruple teleport games with the spellbook being there for Ming so he can make the choice, you never know if RNG put the pedal to the metal and just try and look for triple TP dives. In this case, they're just looking for the fight.
Realm Warp onto Flandre, brings Karsa there as well. Flandre with the leap, but that's the Cannon Barrage. Flash Rune Prison onto SOFM, but he leaps away. Flandre, ooh, just walks it off. Xiaohu heads back towards the mid lane.
And so this is why it's so hard to read the team. Flandre, get the hell out of there. Respect you know. Respect your damn teams. So you're at a point where there are so many ways to just jump from one side of the map to the next, as with RNG's composition not even making a point of course, we just saw Rise ultimate. They can make the call, and they've had in the past when they have a lead or when they feel like a dive is necessary, to just go for it. So sure, their composition does encourage playing it longer to get their stacking tiers. But RNG as a team, to recognize the skill of their opponents and to ramp up the speed of the game, that was a well-played fight from Snake to stop that from happening. And so now RNG might, just starting to take it back.
It's still RNG, though, who are the ones looking for these plays. Though SOFM is trying to sneak forward into the enemy jungle every time he gets a chance, take whatever camps. Rift Herald is being used now in the mid lane. Uzi is back in the top lane. He's got teleport. Ming is there with him, and Xiaohu's forced to pull back.
And Miasma is very good at being able to support those plays, so it's not going to be easy for RNG.
Snake take first brick as they find mid undefended, not quite on top of the timings for RNG. Ooh, even getting a second charge onto the mid tier 2 for even more damage. RNG playing it a little bit too slow during that laning phase as True Shot Barrage tries to steal away the blue buff, but that's passed back over to Guoguo.
Now here's the goal for Snake. Always have mid lane pushed up should be the ultimate goal. RNG wants to have Xiaohu in side lane, but Cassiopeia cannot handle that. So as long as Cassiopeia can at least control mid lane, get that pushed up with the Kindred so they can start looking for top lane or bottom lane outer turret, then that's going to be great for her. Guoguo's alone, cannot afford to be alone in this case.
Ooh, the pillar nearly putting Guoguo on the wrong side of things. SOFM is even hovering towards that mid lane to perhaps attempt a counter gank, but instead the wave is pushed up, and as you said, Guoguo managing to hold that wave in place. Now that does mean RNG find themselves forced to defend a push in that duo lane for the first time in a very long time.
And that's going to start to happen for RNG. As long as mid lane is secured from Snake, they can just pull Snake, or at least, I keep saying Snake. It's literally Cassiopeia for Snake, so that's just going to be a natural one. God dang. But they're going to be pulling Cassiopeia with SOFM and going top lane for the duo lane. So this is going to be a constant play from Snake to start challenging these side lanes with their mid lane push. It's interesting that it hasn't happened yet. These are actually really poor timings. Cassiopeia backing, Kindred now looking to flank around Rise alone.
That's just a bad recall timing out of Snake. That loses their turret. SOFM is bottom, and you can already see the tier 1 has taken a lot of push pressure from Flandre and Light in between the waves that Uzi has been there. But it looks like RNG are happy to take that trade. They're pushing up towards the tier 2. Now Guoguo is starting to step up to clear that out. There's the miasma, there's the wave clear.
And that's the issue here. Snake shouldn't have tried to trade sides. I understand that Flandre is doing really well for himself, but you have a Rakan Varus. You can actually segue from your Rakan Varus lanes being the lane you don't play to, being the most played towards, and actually start sending Flandre to that lane with 2 massive engage points in that side of the map. So now they're starting to trade when they had full pressure. Not a good look from Snake. And when they tried to do that, it was poorly executed with Cassiopeia not being there for the play, and of course Rise just catching out Kindred walking towards the area, ends up basing. So really well done from Xiaohu so he doesn't get caught out. but that could all have been avoided from Snake.
That will give RNG a bit more time and tempo to get back into the game. As you can see, the Iceborne Gauntlet is doing some work for Uzi as the Mana Mune is stacking up. Archangels has transformed into that Seraph's Embrace for Xiaohu, while Trinity Force finished off for Zatai. On the other side, Snake doing the exact same thing with their standard slow style. It's Blade of the Ruined King, as Seraph's Embrace is also finished. That's Chance of Corruption onto Ming. He just cleanses out of the way as that Baron spawns, but this is the playstyle that we expected from Snake. Slow and measured early game into an attempt at mid-game control, but can they coil around RNG when they have this many escapes? When you've got a Tom Kench, Ezreal, Rise, who are so good at dodging away from any flank plays.
It's not going to be easy, which is why I feel like perhaps they'll try it, but they shouldn't. You can already see what SOFM's strategy is, and this is what I favor, that we should start seeing more looking towards trying to bully out the GP in the sideline. In this case, you have Gnar top lane, which I don't actually agree with. You know, trying to build magic resist to deal with the Rise, when I feel like you could actually send FLICKR to the GP lane. So FLICKR is actually being nullified by the fact that Rise is going to smack you.
Yeah, look at that damage already, with barely an item and a half.
I just don't see why your teleport top laner is now on the top side of the map. Perhaps they're valuing the second Infernal, which is fair, but that just means you sacrifice a lot of the vision towards the Baron itself.
Already we see that second Infernal being taken. RNG not on top of it as it spawns, instead perhaps looking for push or roam pressure towards that top side, but FLICKR has got the wave clear. Same thing with Light now holding down the fort in the mid lane.
You can already see base coming from both Gnar and Rise. They recognize the situation with both Infernals being taken. Now you should see FLICKR move towards the bottom lane, just so they can actually start to get the pressure rolling. You can see the bottom lane wave, there's pings happening towards it, so Snake's actually fairly confident with where it is. Rise is heading towards it, while Gnar is actually just going to be with the team. So this is actually strong play from Snake to challenge RNG's position around the Baron pit.
The only person who isn't there, though, is Xiaohu. He's got teleport. He's going to push that wave just a little bit more, as you already said, though. It's got that tier 1, which does buy time for Snake if they want to try to push this. That said, they're looking for a recall instead. Light heads back in. He's got his Runans. Already, that's now a BF sword for SOFM as they push up into this mid lane. RNG have to know this is coming. How do they respond?
And here's the thing. They should respond with Rise basing and coming here slowly. The only worry is if Snake try and burn the Baron so they can actually look for a fight. Cassiopeia, Blade of the Ruined King on the Varus. And of course, they've even had FLICKR as well, so that's a lot of damage on this purple worm that they should respect. We'll have to see what the decision is here is from Snake, because Rise is making a go at things with this inner tower now.
Yeah, that's a really big minion wave pushing up. Ward over the wall, spots out FLICKR, who's close to Mega, but look at the damage. He already got the bottom tier 1, and it is opening up the map so much more. If Snake make another play like that, then that's all that it takes for RNG to take down that tier 2 and keep pushing towards the inhibitor. And still, Xiaohu just keeping up that split push pressure on this Rise. We know that's the style that he likes to play with the champion, that constant split pushing and then using Realm Warp to maneuver his team around. Very cerebral in how he plays and communicates with his team. That does buy time for Zatai to scale up on the Gangplank.
And this is the thing, this is a different take to the Rise for RNG, because ordinarily they've had Rise a little bit closer to the play.
Yeah.
So they can try and rush the play if they have control on Baron, so they can, you know, use the Realm Warps to either go towards the pit or use the Realm Warps to try and flank on fights. So they actually have Rise who's very active in the play, but in this situation, because they've recognized that FLICKR is doing so well inside, they're like, actually, we're going to keep him on bottom lane.
Whoa!
Wow.
That is a lot!
Okay.
Xiaohu! 2 items, Seraph's Embrace and that Banshee's Veil, are enough to do that much damage as Uzi eats 2 shots, misses.
He gets chunked and
shot.
At the same time, bottom lane getting pushed out. So these are small winning plays for Snake now that he's going to pull a lot of time from RNG. Base from Ezreal because of that, and Rise has to deal with the bottom lane wave. And it's going to have eventually base because he doesn't have mana too. So this is slowing the play down from RNG, allows Snake to get more control around Baron, as you can see.
That also buys more time for the Kindred and
that's a long time.
Cassiopeia to snare. Tongue Lash, man. How else do you think he picks up all those people that he bargains with? Pulls them back in.
It's an aggressive bargaining tactic.
now Snake, as you said, they're using this opportunity that has been given over by RNG's mistakes to take control of the Baron Pit. Now to take control of that top tier 1 turret, leading to a turret advantage and a gold advantage for Snake. This should make control around the Baron Pit a lot easier if they're able to hold this turret. And with Uzi again missing the Mystic Shot,
this turret's the one that's the most important. Always going to be undefended because FLICKR is trying to help this team on the opposite side. So great chunk on Xiaohu. He should try and find a time to back because he doesn't have much mana, and it's going to be Gnar that chooses those fights. So hits Mega Gnar now, and that's the time that Xiaohu just gets the hell out of there.
Yeah, little health, little mana. Decides to turn around, back away. He's been sitting on a lot of gold for quite some time. As you can see, the Frozen Mallet Black Cleaver is so deadly in those long lanes. It's so easy to chase someone down like Rise. Even if he does try to Realm Warp away, you can just pop Mega and sweep him out of it.
And good decision from Xiaohu to go towards the Void Staff now rather than later. You know, the magic resist being built up from FLICKR and Light should be starting to get built up from SOFM. Has paths to go towards the magic resist as well with another Hex Drinker. In this case, makes sense, so he can actually start being able to deal that much damage. He's doing a lot now, so gives him a great later game insurance.
And that's something that RNG might actually need here, because right now, Snake, not only are they up in gold, they're slightly ahead in those item timings. 3 items finished for Guoguo, Flash Engage, onto Uzi and Ming. They both flash back, Ming saving that to Zowers. The auto attack gets chucked out. FLICKR chases down the kill, putting the king into the ground.
An exceptional flank, no wards from bottom lane to the mid lane. So easy for FLICKR to just make the move. This should just be a Baron rush. It seems like RNG is trying to get a race going with Rise on bottom lane.
Yeah, the tier 2 will be taken by Xiaohu, but already that Baron is so low. Miasma over the wall. Karsa has Flash. He's trying to get around towards it. That's the pillar. Flashes in, and he used his smite early. That's the Lamb's Respite to deny it. Karsa will die outside of the Respite. Baron picked up. SOFM with the casual outplay.
Excellently played, and that's how you should play those Baron 50s with Kindred. Come in, deny it so you can actually bait Karsa to come into the pit when he can't smite it. It's impossible to do it with Lamb's Respite is up and available. So easy, clean Baron take provided by them with the pick on towards Uzi. Snake is in a phenomenal position in this game.
Suddenly, this late game for RNG starting to look a mite dicey. As 27 minutes into the game, Snake are allowed to play their style. They take it slow, they play around the map, wait for RNG to make mistakes, and that has now netted them the Baron and this third Dragon. 1 Mountain double Infernal, plus a 2,000 gold advantage. And this team is pretty scary on the siege. Miasma plus Piercing Arrow makes for not a good time.
And the scariest part about that is that there's no Storm Razors available for Zatai, so the damage isn't there just yet. Uzi's going to be trying to push them off the wave. This is going to be important here because wave clearing versus this team, Baron up, very difficult. But if you can push them off the proper poke as they did with Light just there, then that might be an option for you. So they're really aggressive on forcing them off the wave.
Still, Light and Snake are just going to try to move back and forth. They've already broken the bottom tier 2, which means now they might try to rotate between top and mid. But Xiaohu is behind Snake, might be looking for a fight, but that is just a touch risky. As the wave pushes in, Uzi sitting on that True Shot Barrage. Guoguo gets pulled back by the pillar as Xiaohu steps up. True Shot Barrage, but the turret's already down. And like you said, they need to be able to step up to the minions, but with Snake defending them, it is so difficult.
Uzi lost so much HP off that. They can try and now move their pressure towards Gnar. Gnar is actually dealing with a lot here, even has a wave coming through, so try and force this inhibitor. It's going to be RNG that has to start drawing the line here because Snake are taking way too much.
Oh yeah. Now pushing on to the inhib. The remaining members of Snake group up. Xiaohu is behind them still, but the turret's already gone. Snake lash out, bite their victim, inject the poison of those super minions, and buy themselves a lot of time. With 60 seconds still on the Baron, they don't overextend and find themselves getting the chance to recall here. Now Xiaohu will try to counter push into the mid lane, pinging onto that mid tier 1 to open the map, but that's just peanuts compared to what Snake have just taken.
It's just respectful, honestly, from RNG. I think they understand that they couldn't have made a play there. If they had, then they would have lost immediately. That's way too close to the Nexus for them to be making mistakes around. So what Xiaohu did was just denied them from making the next Baron push. Now they can't actually look for a mid lane push onto inhibitor because by that time, if they push 2 more or 3 more waves for that, Baron's gone. So great decision for them to start denying them from that, and it gives RNG an option, as they are doing now, to start pushing the next tempo around mid lane.
Raz, I gotta say, we're 30 minutes into the game. Snake are up by about 5,000 gold.
It's looking good.
Should I be getting worried for RNG?
I mean, if you're
the return of the king?
Look, if you're starting to get worried right now, got an issue.
5,000 gold down. Look, it was a Baron. It was a couple plays. They tried to go for the outplay, but Snake are just playing it slow and steady. And RNG, all of their plays seem to be getting turned on their head.
Yes, I think a lot of that comes down to the slow, respectful plays from FLICKR. FLICKR's been having a really good game here today. 307 CS at 30 minutes in. Been trying to pressure the play. Here comes a team fight.
Yeah, speaking of FLICKR, as he almost gets caught out in a Fnatic brush by RNG. Love how that happens. But look at that Snake. They just dash up with the minion wave using FLICKR's distraction to break an inhibitor turret. This is, again, the play getting turned on its head. And still Snake, they've got a minion wave pushing top. They've got super minions pushing bottom.
Gonna be a rough time here for Snake. They should try and hold their ground because bottom lane minions are starting to charge in. They don't have to do anything. Force Xiaohu out of that bush. It looks like he's coming in for the fight.
Shot Barrage, Chains of Corruption finds Karsa, plus the Miasma. SOFM finishes off the inhibitor. Super minions already in that bottom lane, and Snake even taking the safe route away. Now Baron is going to spawn within the next few minutes, and double supers for the next 8 waves in that mid lane mean that RNG have got a lot to deal with.
And this is the difficulties of RNG's composition when they find themselves behind or not getting to a 30-35 minute mark unscathed. Sure, you have great scaling portions, no real hard engage, so if you ever start losing the game, what's your way of coming back into it? Xiaohu's trying to be creative and coming in for flanks, not going to be the case here. So it's going to be a rough one if they ever find a proper fight. It has to be off a pick on a lighter Guoguo.
Yeah, well, that's up to Snake not getting caught out of position and relying on that vision. Of course, as you can see, our match of the week is coming up later today at 7 p.m. China Standard Time, live out of the Shanghai Arena, as Invictus Gaming will challenge Rogue Warriors, our 2 Rift Rivals representatives, going head-to-head. But RNG find themselves struggling in this game against Snake. The composition, as you said, has put them in a bit of a hole. Now they're looking for an opening against a Snake that has found its rhythm, that has found its tempo.
Good news is that the Storm Razors has been built up by Satai,
Yes.
so they're at a place where they can find a fight. They just need to place down the control wards to hide it. There we go.
Oh, that's the damage. Cannon Barrage lands Respite as Uzi finally steps up. Maestro going for the save. Plus the blue trinket, SOFM and Light forced to back away. Baron's up in 70 seconds, which is enough time for a recall for Snake.
That's the long teleport from Xiaohu too, thinking he can get around in the flank, but FLICKR catches him out. So now we're at a point in this game. I'm gonna say it. RNG's composition is starting to look good. It's starting to get difficult for Snake to group up and try and force their play. They need to rely on FLICKR to start splitting side lanes. He needs to start pulling more than one member. It can't just be Zatai. Has to be Xiaohu or Karsa,
yeah.
Maybe Ming. If he does that, then you can feel confident that Snake can take a team fight. But for now, RNG wants that 4v4.
That does mean that they're stuck defending their base as the Mountain Dragon spawns, which is the second for Snake. As SOFM on your screen, you can see he's sitting pretty happy at about, I believe that is 6 stacks. I love how we've got a white and black background with white text on it.
Aesthetically pleasing.
So easy to see, yeah. As Mountain Dragon is picked up for SOFM. That will be secured by Guoguo, but Baron's coming up in 5 seconds, and Super Minions are still battering down at the base of RNG, though I believe that was the last Super Minion wave in that bottom lane, which should get Zatai a little bit closer to the pit.
Surprising that Nara is top here.
Oh,
this is an interesting play. It means that, okay, so the Trundle Pillar is going to stop that from happening, but if Nara was in the bottom lane, forcing on the inhibitor, mid lane Super Minions would be doing their job, then what does RNG actually achieve? What can they do here? That's the major question, but that's not the case here. So RNG has the possibility of forcing a fight. I think this is a bad call from Snake to have Nara in the area.
I mean, you just saw the Mega Gnar get popped by Flandre as Xiaohu pulls aside the super minion to catch the wave in that mid lane, constantly forcing Snake to decide whether they want to keep control of the mid lane or try to fight over the Baron. But it looks like it's the Baron. Like we said, they've got so much shred. Karsa and Ming are there. Flandre very far from Mega, leaps over the pit.
Oh,
Look at how quick it's going down the miasma. True shot barrage, but light. Picks up the Baron buff. Cannon barrage coming down as Xiaohu chases off to the side. SOFM drops an early respite. He's sitting inside of this. Uzi firing shots. There's a miasma. No chase. Arcane Shift misses. And the pillar in melee range prevents no escape. Xiaohu doesn't find a kill. Snake get in and get out.
Very dicey, but the confidence pays off from Snake. So while it was...
That was some Mission Impossible right there.
Hell yes it was. Uzi felt like he was going to get it. I thought he was going to get the Q
He was
off
right
too.
there, yeah.
But well done from SOFM to still be able to get out. And while it was not an optimal play, works out very well because Snake has a competent team. Baron buff pushing straight through mid. Gotta wonder what RNG is gonna do to stop him.
Xiaohu's still sitting behind them, perhaps looking for a flank as his Banshee's Veil comes back up. He's already finished the Void Staff and has a Rylai's, but Snake are just lashing down that mid lane.
Look, the best way to play this one out, I like what Xiaohu's doing, is try and pick up the wave if Snake is not disciplined enough to walk with the wave, to shepherd it. Because then if Ryze whisks it away, then you wait 30 seconds more for the next one. Not happening here as Snake are really on point here with their Baron.
Guoguo goes right up top and brings it to the tier 2, breaking it down. This is the last inhibitor turret. Now the middle inhibitor is going to respawn soon, but this is a dangerous push as Flandre is starting to do some work against Zatai. He's stepping up. That adrenaline pops the Sterix of Zatai, which is a big cooldown in this upcoming fight. But still, the minion waves are all back up. Guoguo shepherding top as Flandre keeps the attention pulled mid. RNG, once again, find themselves defending. Where do they draw their line in the sand?
Here's the thing, this is a big window for Snake. So while Sterix got popped, just like a 40-second cooldown, if they get pushed off right here, Sterix is up for the next fight. So for Snake, really well done from Uzi.
Yeah, you can already see that harass as Flandre will try to work down this remaining inhibitor. Zatai trying to take aggro, but the cannon minion's about to finish it off. He steps up. Oh, and pulls the aggro. The turret's still standing, but only just. A stiff breeze. The minion wave is about to finish it off.
Stare at it angrily.
There it goes. Now it breaks down the inhibitor. Xiaohu will finally clear out the rest of it. The third already goes down miasma. Walked up onto the next inhibitor. True Shot Barrage again as Uzi Arcane shifts out of the miasma. And now Xiaohu trying to sidestep against Flandre on the side is undefended. He flashes sideways in order to retreat, but SOFM chases it down. Uzi's running it back to the fountain, and RNG are running back to the Nexus as Snake split RNG apart, take down all of the inhibs they need, and turn onto the Nexus, plus a Lamb's Respite on top of that from the steps of the fountain. Uzi will watch as his first game back into the LPL is a loss.
And we got a Penguin dab off that. Really well done from the invading force of Snake going into Beijing and taking the first game versus the home team. Strong start, strong early game. It's what we wanted to see out of the team. Support SOFM and Flandre exactly what they did. The plan proves true. They get the victory off of it.
And Snake make their way backstage. Perhaps it's more than just sightseeing for the Snake roster as they take this Game 1 win over Royal Never Give Up. And the return of Uzi is met with a 37-minute loss as RNG find themselves slowing down in that mid and late game and just giving Snake the flexibility to do whatever they like.
So separate from this composition, because yes, RNG's composition is completely late game, but we know that you bring in Uzi and your game time gets much longer comparatively to the Bruiser compositions that they would run with Zatai. And we've seen a few more picks out of Abel, so he doesn't go straight into the late game, actually has the Draven involved. So there are a lot of early game iterations of RNG without Uzi. Bring that in, and you have to start trying to figure out how to really slow down these early game teams. In this case, Snake is not an early game team, but they're running in with an early game composition. And they are a really fiery team. So coming out with the 3 picks that they had, with Kindred, the Gnar, Cassiopeia for the Rise, and it felt like they should have had it in the bag as long as they play it cleanly, and they did. So from Snake's composition, they brought it out well. They had 3 kills on SOFM really early on off of smart plays. So Snake are on their game today.
It was very slow and patient from Snake to wait for RNG to make those mistakes around the map and then take only what they needed to, never really overextending or overstepping their bounds. Though it did get a bit risky at the Baron, toward, I believe, the second Baron towards the late game.
Yep.
But for Snake to make it to that point, I think is unexpected because, again, this is a team that stylistically, when you match them up, the team fight of RNG, how aggressively they're able to snowball the game off of such a small advantage against a team like Snake, who likes to play it slow and wait for you to make mistakes, seems so heavily stacked in RNG's favor, but Snake get to play the game they want, and as we can see, they take the game 1 win.
So one pick I'm going to talk about here is going to be the GP, because I think that we've seen Ezreal rise, that's fine. The multiple teleport to defend you, that's okay as well. GP supports positive plays, so if there's going to be a Varus in your bottom lane, then you can actually set a full engage there, right? That's the early game element that a GP has, but he loses early lanes, especially to the Airy Gnar here. But you can see how long it took for him to really be enabled in this game. They had an option of picking Ornn, and a lot of times I don't just pick apart compositions, but in this case, the Ornn would mean that they would at least have an engage point, oftentimes trying to use Rise to do just that.
Yeah.
And if there were to be a fight that starts off, it's easier to nail people down. They really wanted to nail a few members down in those longer engages, and they couldn't actually do that because of their composition of having Tom, Kench, and Trundle. So it's trying to balance what you do when you're behind, because this composition is supposed to thrive when they slow out a game and find that lead with how slow they can play it. It's very few in the windows that they had, and it didn't work for them.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw that with the plays that RNG were looking for, with Xiaohu using the Realm Warp bottom to bring Karsa down into Zatai's lane. Cannon Barrage onto 2 people, Flash Rune Prison onto SOFM, and then, of course, he just flashes away, and Snake get the chance to slither to safety.
Yeah.
And
couldn't nail him down.
Relying on Xiaohu to try and unlock the game seemed to have been a mid-game strategy until it got to late game when the split push Gnar really started to come into effect with the Frozen Mallet. But still, we do have to commend Snake for getting the chance to play that slow team fight style and just drag RNG out of their comfort zone, because you could start to see Uzi was looking like he was warmed up by the end of that game. He was starting to land some shots across the minions onto Guoguo, just couldn't make the damage stick.
So I really do hope that the MVP for this one is going to be Flandre, because Flandre in this game excelled not only in his lane, he didn't stay in his lane, which is a lot of the Achilles heel for a lot of carry top laners. This time we went straight mid, got the assassination on the Ezreal, and then kept moving. It felt like he was always on the map.
Yeah, well, the MVP will go to SOFM, in fact, on that Kindred for that game 1 victory for Snake. 4-1-4, involved in all of the kills of his team, and he was the one who enabled his team to step up. The Stormrazor's Kindred with 6 stacks, able to leap forward and get the single auto onto Uzi for half his health.
And that's the key here, is that while it was Flandre in a lot of cases, it's a team game, and you know who started at the major bridge, biggest bridge I've seen. I would
the Golden Gate, I mean, yeah.
There we go. I guess you can call him the Golden Gate. He was doing very well for himself. But he was so on point this game on the Kindred. A lot of times, the major issues of Kindred is that you get a lot of gold in the champion. Sure, you do a lot of damage, but easy to pick off, because if you are ever straying away from the rest of your team, we've seen that from Haro recently, then easy to burst down in a team setting. This time around was with this team consistently. This was the game-ending team fight. And the big thing to actually look at, you didn't get to see it because it just started off on a bad foot, that Uzi uses E to get off a poke, gets chunked down by Guoguo, has to get rescued by Ming, and that's the go signal for the rest of Snake to just go for the 2 members. Really well done for Maestro to find the 2 picks, just because Uzi actually makes a mistake in that end.
And then on the bottom side as well, SOFM was able to chase Xiaohu away. He was looking to split on the backside, but when there's a Kindred Cassiopeia walking up into your face, Rise can only do so much. So again, we do have to commend Snake for taking that victory, getting the chance to play that style. Now we need to look to RNG and see what they can do to recover in this matchup, because now they need to win 2 games if they want to come back off of a victory. We were just talking at the beginning of the day how they won their last 3 sets 2-0. They haven't dropped a game in their past 6. Now they've brought Uzi back. They play a slow late game style, and they drop it against Snake. What are we looking for? Are we going to see the snowball aggressive style out of RNG? Are they going to bring Uzi off and bring a 7th man back on?
I think that they can keep the main bulk of the composition, because Rise is doing very well for himself. Ezreal is doing alright. Let's change something in the top side so you can actually have an aggressive point versus FLICKR because he was running away with it.
Well, we'll see what that's going to be for RNG to try to answer back. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for that game 2. Don't go anywhere. The LPL is going to be right back.
请重庆的召唤师们继续带给室内的力量，雄起！